Ooh, a new Jubilee video. Let's see what they got going on today. Today we brought together 6 people. One of them's a serial killer and 5 are the next victims. Can you figure out who the odd man out is? Let's see. Today we brought together 5 people who prefer oat milk in their lattes and 5 people who would kill oat milk drinkers. Oh. Welcome back to 10 people who love petting puppies versus 1 nuke. Okay, let's try one more. Today we brought together 1 overqualified, well-read ethnic minority versus 20 of 4chan's finest, most bigoted individuals you'll ever meet. And we're gonna find out who gets owned. Perfect. Hey guys, what's up, it's imergency, and welcome back to my channel. In all seriousness, we need to have a serious conversation about Jubilee because it's actually getting not only scary, but also pretty harmful. And I think at this point, Jubilee has made one too many questionable videos at best and just flat out dangerous at worst. If for whatever reason you're unfamiliar with what Jubilee is, they are a former nonprofit company turned media production company that initially set out to tell stories about connection, have hard conversations, and essentially lead with empathy. But what it's turned into now is essentially the landing spot for all the worst people that you know and wish you didn't to come together to maximize their joint bigotry for viral clips online. And one of the main reasons why I'm even talking about this and why this has become more of a viral discussion has to do with one of the recent videos called 1 Progressive versus 20 Conservatives, where the one progressive that they brought on was a brown journalist and writer who, despite being a naturalized American citizen, was told repeatedly to go back to his country, among other problematic far-right and even fascist rhetoric. So yeah, we needed to talk about it. This video we're talking about Jubilee, the whole niche of common ground content, and whether or not it's okay to be platforming or debating problematic or just generally bigoted people or ideologies for the sake of content and virality in lieu of everything that's been going on in this country and the rest of the world. And to really get started, I think we do need to take a look at Jubilee themselves, or at least the history of Jubilee. Because like I alluded to, we have not always been here. Jubilee wasn't always like this. Taking a little scroll down the Jubilee footprint, Jubilee, formerly known as Jubilee Project, according to founder Jason Lee, was a nonprofit that set out to create viral digital content for nonprofits and causes. It was initially a place for short films and short human interest stories about connection, hard conversations, and raising awareness for things like charities. A lot of their early viral videos include things like divorced couple shares each side of their love story, or people read the most hurtful words strangers have ever received. Generally emotionally pulling seemingly innocuous videos about connection and the human experience. Versus now where there's content like who's the secret Satanist and should the US deport its citizens. Like there's definitely been a content shift here. And I, for one, am never gonna hate on someone making a content pivot and doing what works, because at the end of the day, content creation is a job, but I do have to draw the line when that content becomes dangerous and exceedingly problematic. Like where we are now, where essentially rage bait is being repackaged and disguised as conversation or connecting, when in reality what's happening in these videos is nothing of the sort. In 2017, the Jubilee Project became Jubilee Media, and it stopped being a nonprofit, but they kept the YouTube channel. And in an interview with Taylor Lorenz, shout out Taylor, the founder Jason says that the shift came about during the 2016 presidential election to become a media company, instead to create content. I mean, the space to talk to each other on each side of the political spectrum. Their tagline at the time was the Disney of empathy, which is interesting considering where we're at now. And the founder themselves said that they wanted that to be their brand and to be the hub of all things empathy. And at that time, Middle Ground was one of their most popular shows, getting people from different sides to debate or a claim or an ideology. So think things like Christians versus atheists or Republicans versus Democrats. Things like that, where the two groups would ultimately have to try and find some middle ground, some understanding, so that they can come to understand each other better, or at least take something new away that they didn't walk in already knowing or feeling or understanding. And I think at first we really saw some of that because we had not really seen something like that before. And around that time was when we really started to see this increased polarization of ideologies, of politics, of whatever. And it seemed like people really weren't talking to each other. So having this medium where two opposing sides that normally would not discuss or talk to each other in a civil manner come together and seemingly do something of that sort was amazing. And while for some it's debatable over whether or not that purpose was actually achieved or not, at the very least we got amazing sound bites and amazing moments like this.
You know, most people commit suicide are men. Most people who work in dangerous workplaces are men. Most people who fight in war are men.
And who set that system up?
They're also known for other series like The Odd One Out, and the one that we're going to talk about more extensively in this video, Surrounded. They even have disclaimers in some of their videos where they directly say like, yeah, this is a social experiment. And actually, let me read directly from the disclaimer. Middle Ground is a social experiment that brings humans with opposing beliefs together. These discussions may contain viewpoints that are the result of misinformation. Remember to seek out experts and be critical of your own biases while forming an opinion. Please seek the humanity in each participant, and as always, we encourage empathy. And I think that it's great and good on them that they have these disclaimers in front of their videos before anything that comes after, and that they also have, at least for the more recent video that I'm going to be talking about like the progressive versus the 20 conservatives, like live fact checking to help fact check some of the misinformation. But when the people that you're platforming in the social experiment are laundering far-right fascist rhetoric, and those are the viral clips that are getting sent out without any disclaimer or without any fact checking in the clips, I don't know exactly how much that's doing. And this isn't the case for just Jubilee, like it's for the entire niche, the entire content vertical. And as time has gone on, Jubilee and other similar channels have began to become more and more extreme in terms of the people that they bring on and the conversations had, where it seems like it's no longer solely about building empathy and having conversations, and it's more so to do with who can cause the most amount of drama and say the most outlandish thing to clip farm and go viral. Like in the hour and 40-minute video of the 1 progressive versus 20 conservatives, the quiet part has never been said so loud, as the panel of 20 far-right conservatives consists of fascists, pro-yachts, white nationalists, and other far-right conservatives that are shaking in their boots because they have to defend their points. And on the Jubilee channel, this specific video's style or series is called Surrounded, which is basically their debate style show where they bring on one person on one end of the spectrum and 20 people on the other side of the spectrum. And as you'd expect from the setup and the nature of this style of discussion, it's very conducive to bad faith arguments, owned moments, and some of the most deliberate trolls and rage baiters you have ever seen in your life. And the 1 progressive in this case is none other than Mehdi Hasan, who in his own right is super qualified, who is a British-American progressive journalist, broadcaster, writer, and he often debates with Republicans on political news and is a self-proclaimed person who loves arguing to the point where he has a whole book on it all. And to bring someone like that, also a person of color, mind you, to debate people who are citing pro-Yahtzee theorists like Carl Schmitt, as well as literal dictators like Francisco Franco, it's clear that there was not going to be a good faith argument there at any point. And of course, throughout the discussion, Mehdi was told to leave the country.
But listen to me. I am an immigrant. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Get the hell out.
I don't even like... I should get the hell out.
Yes.
Why?
I don't want you here.
Questioned his status as an American citizen, despite being a naturalized citizen, and was told that he would be one of the first ones to go.
You're gonna have to go, bro.
Nice talking to you. You're gonna have to go, bro, is what he said as I left, to an American citizen.
And to that, I have to ask, like, how is any of this built to foster this empathy? That seems to be the mission of this channel. Like, you can't build empathy or connection with someone who does not see you as human, or at least as an equal. And that's one of my main problems with this format of video. Like, at this point in history, the whole concept of political debate, and essentially what it feels like in a lot of these video formats, is that you're putting people on here to defend or debate their right to exist. And that inherently makes it a bad faith conversation. It makes it seem more like a grift. It's simply just rage bait and gets the engagement, sure, but like at what cost? In an interview with Tim Miller post the Jubilee of it all, Mehdi Hasan says that the idea to be on this show was pitched to him, as the title suggested, 1 progressive versus 20 far right, because he'd seen many far right or conservative pundits previously, like Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, also appear on the series and have good faith conversations with progressives on the other side, but would not see as many leftists doing the same thing, which I guess is cool to have a break from the continuous Republican talking head debates. He also said that his platform isn't typically Gen Z or the younger demographic, but his kids and nephews knew of Jubilee, so he wanted them to see a progressive broadcaster have this debate with what he was told to be right-leaning conservatives and Trump supporters. But allegedly, he had no idea what he was actually in for. He says that he refrains from debating racists and fascists because bad faith arguments aren't actually debate. So he was caught off guard when he thought we're just regular Trump supporters turned out to be far-right racists and fascists. Like, who the hell is Jubilee platforming? And what's honestly most shocking and kind of sad about this whole thing is that he says that within his 25 years of being a journalist, both in the US and in Britain, that appearing on this show without a shadow of the doubt was the most insane thing that he had ever done. But let's take a second to talk about exactly why this conversation and why necessarily what Jubilee has been doing is so inherently harmful. For one, we have to talk about the hypocrisy of wanting to establish middle ground and wanting to have a conversation without actually moderating the conversation at all and just kind of letting it happen and get as bad as it needs to get. Like oftentimes, not in all cases, but oftentimes in these conversations, it is like oppressor versus oppressed. And rarely out of these conversations is empathy ever built or anything really illuminated in any way. Like you have people out here that are being discriminated against for just existing and then having them on the show to defend their humanity. Like that's just wild to me. And I know none of these people are held here against their will. Like everyone on these shows signs up to be on Jubilee, right? I just think that the conversations themselves and the way that they're facilitated are a little wild. And the people that they are choosing to be on the show and pit against each other are rarely ever on the same footing, because what do you mean you have actual scientists debating flat earthers? Also within their shows, especially in Middle Ground, the way the questions are framed definitely have a certain slant to them to make them a little bit more emotionally engaging, and also seem to have like an alt-right framing to them. Like, do you feel disgusted when you see a fat body? What kind of topic point is that? And how do you continue a discussion from there? Like, how are you going to find middle ground on that question when the person you're debating is like the guy from Fresh and Fit? Like, if the times in 2016 where the content shifted were polarizing, now in 2025, the stakes are even higher and things are even more polarizing. Because like, what do you mean we're debating actual fascists? And that's another one of my big problems with this. Like, from what I've seen, the discussions are never really had at the same level or standard. Like, there's no reason for an overly qualified person who's an expert in their field to be debating someone whose knowledge base on the topic consists of only a few Google searches, and to have those two opinions be held at the same validity and the same level of importance. Like, no, this isn't me saying that like only certain opinions should be talked about, but yes, some opinions and thoughts and ideologies have more legitimacy than others. Okay, like, yes, it's okay that an expert in their field of 20 years knows more than you on a specific topic than you do that you just looked up yesterday. Like, what's happening here is a great depiction of where we are in the anti-intellectualism crisis that we're going through. Experts in their field are no longer listened to or thought to have the legitimacy that they have rightfully earned, or at least more so earned than like your average everyday person. And instead of believing that and taking that and debating it in an educational or nuanced way, we favor more emotionally charged or relatable thoughts and opinions that make you feel like what they're saying is right, despite there being no evidence to that. Like, just because you're saying something passionately, loudly, and with conviction does not make it true. Like, people, please. And going back to that interview, I mean, in the words of Hassan in this video, like, where does Jubilee find these people? Where do they find you? And what's crazy to me about this is that without a doubt, Jubilee is like vetting people, at least to some degree, to know who's going to be on the show. And according to Mehdi, like, they do interview the people to some degree. And yet somehow this well-known anti-Semitic, friends with Nick Fuentes Connor guy gets on the show. You know, the one who said he's proudly fascist and laughed about it. Why is he on the show, and why was he allowed to be on the show? Like, how are you going to build empathy, build community, and like find some kind of understanding when you have people like that? That if you're that far down the pipeline, you're not going to change your mind despite no matter what someone is going to tell you. What is the point of that? Because minds aren't being changed in the way that I think they want. And what's ultimately happening as a result of this is that we're just legitimizing things like fascism and other bigoted ideologies. Because by having these conversations and putting them on the table and debating them with a whole bunch of other issues and holding them to the same weight, we normalize those conversations and beliefs and ideologies where they're not as taboo, or they're not like things where like, oh no, let's stay as far away from that as possible. It's like, oh yeah, I can understand that, that's okay. Which is a bad thing for a number of reasons, but it continues to open the door for more and more extreme ideologies and beliefs to enter the public zeitgeist. It's no longer relegated to just 4chan or other smaller corners in the internet. Like, it literally makes its way into mainstream media. And kind of getting to Mehdi's point about not debating like racism, fascism, whatever, like, there's no productivity coming from debating these people, because these conversations, no matter what your belief system is prior to, is only going to make you more staunch in your own beliefs. Because in your mind, when you're debating people like this without any form of moderation or without any form of like actual wanting for understanding, it's just validating to you everything you already think in your head about these people. These are essentially just examples of people reiterating, defending, and polishing their own beliefs and arguments to make the debate more so about winning than actual understanding, compromise, or empathy and learning. So the whole empathy shtick behind these videos is just really frustrating, because that's just like not the method and format for that to actually be the case, which makes you wonder like if that really is the goal, because if so, that's not happening. And I already know I'm going to see comments under this video like, well, by debating these people and showing these people on these platforms, it shows that these people really do exist. I mean, which in some cases they can be like, yeah, okay. But then you can also just turn on your news and give a few swipes and you'd see all of that already. Like, we don't necessarily need more of this stuff. Now let's talk a little bit more specifically about the problems with platforming extremist ideologies and whether or not there should be a hard line and what that should be and what that would look like. In the same interview with Taylor Lorenz, Jubilee's founder was directly asked about platforming bigotry and how there was essentially a marginalized community on one side and alt-right rage bait on the other, and how they try to mitigate that. And essentially what he does for the video is talk in circles, and he eloquently dances around the question, making a weird t-shirt analogy, saying that if him and the interviewer are wearing the same color t-shirt, that doesn't mean that they'd agree, and if they wore different colored t-shirts, that doesn't mean that they would disagree.
It's kind of like a ludicrous idea if you think about the opposite, which is just because you and I both have, let's say, a red shirt on or a blue shirt on, that we will agree on 1,000 of the same issues, or if we have opposite colored shirts on, that we would disagree on 1,000 different issues. And I think it's like a more scary thought that we can't coexist in the same room.
Which, I mean, identities and ideology are not quite the same as t-shirt colors. So not quite the point and a little reductive, but we'll continue. But he goes on to say that it's more dangerous if two people with different beliefs can't sit in the same room together even if the conversation isn't productive, possibly admitting that the conversations are productive. And then continues to dance around some more of the heavy-hitting questions around platforming harmful ideologies and says a lot of nothing, which is apparent by a lot of the top comments under that video. And my thing is, like, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. Maybe that's the case like interpersonally, like face to face in like everyday people's lives. But for the sake of this show, for the sake of what they're doing, that's not really true, because you're casting people like Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, the list goes on and on. People with some of the most extreme and arguably worst takes, like genuinely people that have ideologies in line with Yahtzeeism. Like, you can't try and foster conversation or make connections or build empathy with people that have those sorts of beliefs. And I think that's okay to say. There are certain ideologies and are certain extremes that we should just not go to and not entertain or platform. Because again, you're not trying to find middle ground with that, because there is no middle ground to Yahtzeeism. There is no middle ground with extreme forms of hate. You can't negotiate with that.
I think you could say I'm a f***ist.
Yeah, I am.
Which then could mean that the intention is not for actually finding empathy, not for finding some sort of middle ground. It is for the sake of clicks, engagement, and virality, which there is something to be said about that. Like in Maddie's video, he was right to state that he doesn't debate with fascists. Like someone in that video tried to bring that up as like a sort of a gotcha as to why he dropped out of that specific debate. But like, he was right. Maddie specifically is a professional debater. And to debate with fascists, to debate with ideologies like that, again, is to legitimize them. By debating extreme topics like that, you're making them acceptable, which means that there is something credible, and you can't debate the humanity of a person. So where do you go from there? And it just really goes back to the whole like lack of good faith in these arguments and these discussions. Because maybe for some people, the intention behind coming on these shows is to actually debate and to change their perspective. But oftentimes, more often than not, I would argue, no one's going on there to try and change their stance. They're going on there to create a moment, to own a lib, and to ultimately promote and normalize their ideologies and ways of thinking, to make more people susceptible, to get more and more people okay and used to accepting these extreme ideas as common ones, or like things that like just the average everyday person is thinking. And you know, it's a completely valid argument that we want the eradication of an entire group of people. Like, that makes sense. That's something that we should debate. It's just a hot take, a hot button issue, but is worthy of a debate. Like, no, we can't do this. I'm sorry. Like, this was one of the bad ones. And that's sort of where I want to leave this video. Like, I don't want this to be like a giant hit piece against Jubilee. They don't need to completely shut down and burn to the ground, like Jubilee will crumble type. Like, no, I'm just saying that for a channel that has over 10 million subscribers and tons of engagement, literally the internet's microphone, there should be a lot more thought put into who's being platformed and really being honest why these people are being selected and platformed in the way that they are, knowing what the end results are. Like, just because there is a holy mission statement behind the content of wanting to spread empathy and kindness, like, there actually has to be actionable things behind that to prove it. Like, it can't just be words, and right now it seems like it is. And I completely understand that content is content is content. Like, people are reacting to it, like it's doing numbers, it's doing well, but you're having people in your content making racist and xenophobic remarks towards other people on the show that are trying to have good faith arguments or debates, which kind of sinks the whole empathy thing. Like, while yes, the content on Jubilee is debatably entertaining, at least in the scope of that last video, things have gone too far.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Emergency and welcome back to my channel. Episode 3 of Euphoria. It came, it saw, it conquered, it did its thing. And this week's episode was really just like unapologetically messy and then also kind of traumatic and sad. And we need to sit down, unpack, and break this episode down because there is just so much to unpack, like every episode, but this episode I feel like there's just something a little bit more. There's a lot. That's a lot more actually. So let's get into it. If you have not already, definitely hit that subscribe button because we break down episodes of Euphoria every single week and you do not want to miss it. As you may know, we are on the road to 100K and we are almost there, so definitely subscribe. Also, if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to leave a like because that helps out a whole bunch, and follow me on my socials at imuRgency to keep up with me. But let's talk about Euphoria episode 3. So I feel like this episode had a lot of characters hitting rock bottom, or at least somewhere near that. In a sense, we're like, everyone's kind of down bad. Everyone's kind of down bad. Some people are down worse than others. Cassie, Rue, But yeah, overall, not a great episode for characters' mental health, I have to say. Starting off with the elephant in the room, Rue this episode was just a whole mess. She spent this entire episode lying to everyone around her. First, she's lying to her sister about the substances that she's using, and there's this whole scene that's so dramatic but also so real where her and her sister get into this fight, and we get to see a really dark side to Rue. She explains to us, and we basically see her manipulate her sister into feeling bad for her by threatening some very, very, very problematic things in terms of her mental health and weaponizing mental illness and her substance abuse issues against her own sister. And this was dark. Like, I'm starting to understand what Zendaya was talking about when she's saying that this season was going to be a little bit more mature, because wow, that's real. That's real. Like, that is really real. And I feel so bad for Rue's sister Gia because of the mental turmoil and mental duress that Rue puts on her without really even caring. Like, I feel like Gia's mental health is something that we really need to get into, and something that like is constantly overlooked, because Gia genuinely cares for her sister, and it's really hard to do that when her sister doesn't seem to really care about herself. Like, that whole scene, with the exception of like the whole like screaming match they did, that did have me laugh just a little bit, but like that whole scene was so like deep and impactful, and like at the end of it I was like, wow, this happened. We're going here. We're really going here. But also kind of pivoting, those of y'all that have been speculating in my pre-show hangouts, which I recommend you watch every single Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I go live on here to like talk about like the last episode and like the current episode, whatever. You should hang out. And in my TikTok comments, like a lot of y'all were prophesizing that Rue is going to be in her drug dealer era. Yeah, we're onto something, because why did that happen? Why is she now becoming a drug dealer? Like, she really got herself in deep for some money. Actually, I'm not sure if I said that myself too in like the first episode predictions. Did I? Oh. She runs out of substances and goes off to the drug dealer mob boss that we saw in episode 1 that was dealing with Fez, and basically creates a business partnership with her where she gets lended a large sum of money to then like peddle those drugs around her school. And this is really dangerous. It's looking very bad for her because she's now caught up in this lifestyle. Like, she's trapped now. She's set herself up for failure in the sense, like, she is now in this lifestyle and she can't necessarily leave. She can't back out because, like Miss Mob Boss said, if she backs out, then she's cut. Like, that's the end of Rue. And I really want to know what Fez thinks about this when he finds out, because I know that Fez has been trying to keep Rue away from this lifestyle. Of course, he's been like incorporating her a little bit, but he has never really wanted this for her. And business wise, I think this might be a little bit of competition for Fez, because don't they do like a similar thing? Like, aren't they both working for her? I'm interested to see like how this develops and if this develops. But that leads to Rue's next scene, which, like, if anything in this episode was a low, like if the stuff that we saw before wasn't enough, like this was a new low, and that was the stuff with Ali. She goes to her meeting with the suitcase full of substances and money and gets into this fight with Ali, and she's clearly not sober at this moment. She's like fighting with him. She's getting really, really disrespectful with him, and Ali is like warning her, like, please, like, I am here for you. Like, you do not talk to me this way. Like, if you say one more thing, like, I'm done. I'm out your life. And she weaponizes his own trauma against him and then blatantly disrespects him. For what? Like, Ali is the one person in her corner consistently that knows the truth about her and supports her still. Everyone else in her life that knows the truth about her, what she's been doing, has not had her best interests at heart or just pushes her away. Like, Ali is the first person in her life to actually embrace her and still want the best for her. And she's just pushed that figure out of her life. She's really just pushed that figure out of her life. And that's sad. That's really, really sad. And that's really scary, because what is going to happen now? What is going to happen now? Like, if she doesn't have him as a sponsor, like a pillar, like where does she go from here? And I'm really nervous, but also excited to see like how her character develops. I heard some whispers and rumors around that some future episodes have her hitting rock bottom, but I'm excited to say the least. Pivoting on, let's talk about the love triangle that I predicted was going to happen, but not in this way, because this love triangle between Rue, Jules, and Elliot is just strange. We finally get to see them all come together and have a conversation. However, Elliot is far more messy than I initially anticipated. He was far more messy than I anticipated, because I thought he just had a thing for Rue. Right. But it turns out that maybe he's not looking for anything specifically. Like, he is just trying to get in their relationship and be there as a disruptor to their relationship. Like, he does not care whoops he gets with. He's just trying to get with one of them. Because he admits this episode that he actually does have a crush on Rue, but also calls Jules and basically flirts with Jules when Rue's not around. So I'm like, what's your deal? What's your deal? If you're not trying to ruin their relationship, at the very least, you're there to point out the holes in it. And I am not here to defend Rue and Jules' relationship because I personally do not like it. Like, they actually like don't have chemistry or that much in common besides being friends. Like, I feel like they'd be better off as friends than as a couple. And you can really see this because this episode is like one of the first times we actually see like Rue and Jules be intimate. And it only really happens after Elliot points out that they have not really been intimate before. So Elliot, in some kind of way, was sort of like the catalyst for them to actually start being physical with each other, which feels a little weird. So I really do not know where this is going. I do think based on how the episode ended that maybe there's going to be a Jules and Elliot little fling-a-ding, just because I feel like personally they have more chemistry than Rue and Jules or Rue and Elliot ever would. Plus I find it really funny. I found it hilarious the way that Elliot would just speak to them and Elliot would be like, what Elliot say about Jules?
And, you know, even though you've been by the entire galaxy, you're still you're great. Okay?
Yeah, like that was just like a whole lot. Now let's get over to Lexi because I feel like Lexi is starting something. Like she's cooking up something devious. Lexi decides to start a play, except it's not just any play, you see. It is a play that's based on all the lives of the people around her. So it's a very much meta. It's a play in a show talking about the show, basically exposing all these characters for who they are. And I think this is really messy because I feel like Lexi is going to expose everybody because she sees everything. She's an observer. She peeps. Peeps a lot but doesn't say a lot. I feel like she's not only going to expose the Nate and Cassie drama, but also incorporate Maddie into it while also exposing the fact that Rue is no longer sober. Maybe just as like a treat, might flirt with Fez, like drop a hint like, Fez, hey. But I feel like it's going to be catastrophic when that play actually launches, simply because of the fact that no one knows it's coming. Like no one's really paying attention. They're all too wrapped up in their own stuff that like they are all gonna be blindsided. It's going to be messy and I can't wait. Now let's talk about this episode's clown, Cassie. Cassie. The Cassie Hive is in shambles this week because Cassie looked dumb this episode. She looked dumb this episode. Not physically, because like the outfits that she'd wear and just like the beat that she'd do every single day was giving. However, the fact that she would wake up at 4 a.m. every single day to get dressed and really put herself together for Nate every single day to ignore her, except for the one time that she dressed up like Maddie and got like a sliver of attention, like that is bad. Like you were down bad. Down awful even. But it really just shows the lengths that she's willing to go to be loved, which is terrifying because she's literally accepting bare minimum. Actually, I'd go even farther, like less than the bare minimum, like bottom of the barrel scraps, you know? And that whole scene where like Nate and her are hooking up and she's like, I like that I'm your little secret that I can never tell a soul. Like, girl, shut up. Like, girl, please get some therapy, get some help, because you should not be looking for that. Like, you should not be proud of that. Like, aspire for higher, Bessie, please. Please, you should not be this excited to be a side piece, respectfully. Like, you deserve so much better than Nate Jacobs, your best friend's abuser. Like, wow. I really can't with Cassie. I really cannot with Cassie. But Cassie's side, now I want to kind of talk about one of the highlights of this episode, really, and that was the scene with Fez and Ashtray and Cal Jacobs. Okay. So basically, Cal Jacobs, he gets a whole backstory this episode. Like, he starts off the episode getting his whole like, so this is Cal Jacobs, and we basically find out what we already knew before, that he was into one of his high school friends, basically gets caught up with who becomes Nate's mom, gets trapped in the relationship because they end up having a baby, gets in a marriage, and is just overall feeling trapped, whatever. That brings us to today, where Cal has that similar feeling of being trapped because he knows his tape is hanging over his head and he can't really do anything about it because his life is gonna be over. And there's a scene in this episode where he actually shows like what would happen. Worst case scenario if he got found out. So he still feels trapped, very much trapped. He's a trapped being. He goes over to Fez's place because we find out that Nate, might be a lie, might be the truth, we don't really know. Nate snitched on Fez and said that Fez has the tapes. And I think Nate is really sneaky for this because I think based on how this episode ends, he sent his father on a wild goose chase just because he knew how Fez would react. And he gets kidnapped. He basically gets kidnapped and then gets held at gunpoint by none other than Ashtray. And might I say, Ashtray is unhinged. Unhinged. Top scene this episode. I just love how each brother gets to handle a Jacob. Like episode 1, Bez handles Nate. Episode 3, Ashtray handles this grown ass man, Cal Jacobs. Like whenever Cal would threaten him or even just look in his direction, like look at him funny, Ashtray would be there with the back of the gun being like, bow! Like, Ashtray! Like it got to a point where even Fez was like, damn Ash, like chill out. And like, you know, if Fez, the guy who was just beating a boy over the head with a Tito's bottle and knocking another guy out not 2 episodes ago, is telling you to chill out, like if you know he's telling you to chill out, maybe you're going a little bit too far. Maybe Ashtray's a little bit too unhinged. Like he's a little bit too grown to be a 12-year-old. But I loved every single scene of it. And like, again, Faye in the background, her commentary just, I love it. I really just love the 3 of them together. The real gold of the scene is that Cal actually admits to hooking up with Jules to the group, and the information is leaked, and in turn, Cal now knows that Nate also was in love with Jules. And why I think this is so important, my little theories right now, I think this now creates a sense of mutually assured destruction. Because before, Nate had the upper hand because he had information on his dad, but his dad had no power to really refute anything. Now, there's more of a reason for them to work on the same side, because I really don't think that Nate wants the rest of the world or even his dad knowing that him and Jules are hooking up with the same person, or that he loves Jules. So now I feel like Cal can sort of use that information to make sure that those tapes don't get leaked. Picture this, Nate leaks the tapes. So what? His dad goes under. In his final words before he gets locked up and sent to prison, he outs Nate for also being with Jules. Now Nate's whole sexuality is out to the public because now Jules has no reason to hide her information and can finally say like, oh yeah, he has like on his phone, and Maddie can come out being like, yeah, that boy has on his phone. So now there's like a sense of mutually assured destruction. Like neither of them can really say anything, and sort of puts them on the same team in a sense, which is why the ending is so important to me, where Nate Jacobs stands up Cassie, which I mean, Cassie, come on now. Maybe this would be a wake up call, but he goes to see Maddie while she's babysitting. And while I feel like people would love to think that maybe this was a genuine act of like them trying to get back together, I think this is Nate's way of trying to get those tapes back, because either we're missing a couple scenes where Nate and Cal are like, all right, we need to get these tapes, or Nate is just genuinely out there getting the tapes under wraps so he can have full control. But either way, he is not there for Maddie. He is not there for Maddie, and I can tell you that for a fact. I just am really concerned for Maddie because again, she is not home and she's by herself, or not by herself, she has that kid there, but still, like it's not looking great here. I'm really interested now because it's making more sense with like the whole babysitting backstory that I was talking about before. Like all that context that we got in like episode 2, I think, is making so much more sense of why that was included. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where like this next episode goes. I really hope for episode 4 we get some more clarity on like the whole Maddie, Cassie, and Nate triangle, as well as getting some well-needed Lexi and Bez alone time, because I feel like we have not gotten that. Like we need some more. We need some more. The gas station scene was just a little tease. Like we need like a full scene between the 2 of them just interacting by themselves. So I'm hoping that comes in episode 4. But yeah, also a quick thing before I wrap up this breakdown, like I feel so bad for Kat. I'm sorry, Kat. Like Kat, you had an awful dinner. I am so sorry. That seemed so awkward. Okay, but after that, that's going to be all for this episode's breakdown, y'all. What are your thoughts? What did you think of this episode, and what do you think is going to happen next? Let me know down in the comments below. Again, if you are new to the channel, definitely subscribe because I do these breakdowns every single week, and make sure to turn on my post notifications so that you never miss when I post. Again, make sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it because it helps me and this video out so much, and to follow me on social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all of that at imergency. But other than that, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I've been Emergency, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Well, you know, I took some time off to rest, and now it's game time.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Emergency, and welcome back to my channel. Today we need to catch up because Netflix just recently dropped banger after banger after banger. And I honestly, to be quite frank, have not had the time to catch up on everything. The videos talking about some of these shows will be out soon. But right now, the show that I really want to talk about is Sex Education Season 3. And this time around, I kind of want to switch things up and have this be less of a show review, since by now, if we're talking about Season 3, I'm assuming that you've seen Season 1 and 2. This video is going to be more of a unpopular opinion slash just some of my thoughts. sort of video, just recapping the season, really debriefing because so much happened. And so many people this season really pissed me off, made my heart melt, and just genuinely made my experience watching season 3 very, very enjoyable. Before we get into all that, let's hear a quick word from this video's sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is an online web service that allows you to host your own professional website or domain. They come with tons of customizable templates that allow you to make your website your own and really help you get started making your own online portfolio, online store, or really anything else that you can really think of. I've been using Squarespace a lot recently as I'm a rising senior in college looking for some jobs, and Squarespace has been the perfect place for me to start my online portfolio where I can really just go over some of my past experiences and passion projects that I've been working on to show some possible employers. If you head over to squarespace.com, you can start your free trial, and when you're ready to hit publish on your website, go to squarespace.com/emergency or use code emergency at checkout for 10% off your first website or domain. Thank you so much, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. Let's start talking about sex education. Okay, so Sex Ed Season 3. Honestly, a roller coaster. I do not know how else to describe it. It was through and through a roller coaster. Like this time around, we got some new characters introduced. We got a lot of development for some old characters. And honestly, some of the problems I mentioned in my first Sex Ed video did get resolved this time around. So I could say that I was thoroughly happy about that. But let's really get into it, shall we? I would dare to say that this season of Sex Ed was my favorite and the best season out of the show, simply because it took the things that we already loved about the show and really developed them more and made it feel more like its own show, if that makes sense. Because season 1, they were really trying to figure out what they were doing. Like, we were still trying to get used to the characters, and the characters themselves really just did not know what they were doing. Season 2 was kind of like a middle ground where we sort of figured out how things worked, but there was just like a lot of drama. Basically, season 3 felt the most like Sex Ed that Sex Ed has ever felt, if that makes sense. And that first starts off with some of the characters. So like I said, they brought back all of the main cast that we're used to. Basically Otis, Maeve, Eric, and Jean Milburn. But this season really did like a giant flip where the focus of the season wasn't necessarily on those main 4. Of course, the main story elements were on them, but this season gave so much juicy and well-deserved character development to the characters around them. I'm talking about Amy, Ruby, Adam, even Raheem to a certain extent, Diaka to Lily, frickin' Jackson, Cal, and Viv. Like, all of the traditional side characters really stepped up this season and got their own development in their own way, and I really love that. And since I mentioned their name, one of the new characters on the show, Cal, can we really just show some appreciation for Cal? They really brought an energy to the show that was really missing. Like, they're the one like American in the show. And you can really tell by the way that they just interact with like authority and just other people. Like, they're just not here for like the politeness and a lot of the BS that sort of happens. And I really love that for them. They also gave us some non-binary representation this season, which I feel like is really cool because I said this in the first season of Sex Ed, but Sex Ed really does break down a lot of boundaries with things that we don't really traditionally see on typical media. Like, we literally got to see someone who's non-binary and someone with a disability be main love interests to some of the more prominent characters in the show. Of course, both these relationships end up flopping, but it was nice to see dedicated love stories happen on screen for both these people. Jumping back on the whole character development train, I really feel, I saw this in a tweet, but this season, the people that got the most character development and people that tried to change the most for the better this season ended up the most unhappy and done the most dirty. Here I'm really just talking about Ruby and Adam, because as we know from previous seasons, these two haven't been the greatest people to our main cast. Ruby being the typical mean girl and Adam being the bully to Eric. But at the end of season 2, Eric and Adam end up getting together, which I still to this day do not support. Even now, especially at the end of the season, I really do not support. And honestly, just frustrates me, which I'll get into. But we really get to see this season, Eric really try to get more in touch with himself, be more comfortable with himself now that he is out and gay, or kind of out and gay. We really get to see him push himself to be a better man for Eric. And it's really sad because you see how difficult it is for him to move past all the trauma that he learned from his parents and upbringing and just life in general. And just seeing him try to fight all that for this one guy that he really likes and only for that one guy to end up cheating on him and be like, you know what, this isn't gonna work out. It was just so traumatic. Like, he really didn't deserve that. Like, he was putting in all of the work that he needed to. He just got played. And same thing for Ruby. Like, Ruby was being a mean girl. She never really let anyone in. She was never vulnerable. But Otis came along. They start hooking up. I feel like Otis is one of those people that like really needs deep connection with people, even if he doesn't want to pursue something really deep with that person. Like, he just really needs to have genuine, deep connections with everyone that he meets. And that's especially toxic for people that aren't used to that and take that immediately for love or deep affection. And that's what happened with Ruby. Like, no one's ever showed her that kind of affection and general care for her. So she fell deep, she fell hard. Honestly, I support the Ruby and Otis relationship at the very end where she stopped being all control-y. Yeah, Otis was still caught up over Maeve and had the nerve to kiss another girl, to kiss Maeve in front of Ruby after they broke up. But they were obviously trying to fix things together. Like, he spent a whole episode trying to get Ruby back, and then Maeve shows up and he's like, oh wait, never mind. Ruby didn't deserve that. Ruby really didn't deserve that. And the fact that Ruby still continues to support Otis throughout the rest of the season, this is just so heartbreaking because you know that she still has a love for him when he clearly does not feel the same. That scene on the phone where Ruby's like, I love you, Otis. And Otis is like, that's nice. Really, Otis? What'd Megan say?
Man, ain't nobody come to see you, Otis.
Yeah, I fully blame Otis and Eric for being very sick and twisted individuals. Honestly, same to Maeve low-key. Maeve's been going through it this season. She really was trying to figure out what her future is gonna be like. She has to deal with her whole family situation, which really got complicated this season. But the way that she cheated on Isaac, after Isaac did nothing but care and love for her. And I get it, like, Otis is your first love. He's your what if guy. He's like the guy that you really would like to be with, ideally, but you like moved on and healed. But really, if he said yes, you'd go jumping right back to. Like, I get it. Also, can we talk about the star of the season? Amy. Can we please take a moment to talk about my girl, Amy? Amy really got that character development. Like, the writers for season 3 really were handing out character development left and right, but Amy's slice of character development was so sweet. It's just the way that she takes her therapy in her own hands, in her own really airheaded, goofy way, and really try to work past her traumatic experience and basically learn to love herself and her body, while also being such a great support to Maeve while Maeve is literally going through it and no one else is really caring for her. Like, Amy and Maeve's friendship is so pure and also so funny. Like, Amy is so unintentionally funny. The scene in the beginning where she hits that lady, or how she makes a horrible French accent in front of her friend Maeve, who actually in real life is French. I literally just can't with her. Now I kind of want to get into some unpopular opinions, some very critical thoughts I have, just shaming a bunch of these characters because, like I said, I really love this season, but people made me so mad. Let's start off with Vivian. Viv, if you will. They try to explain it by being like, oh, she really wants an opportunity. But what prompted Viv to become a pick-me? It just happened so quickly that she switched up on her one only friend that was super close and did everything for her last season. They became really close last season. What would prompt her to just automatically switch to pick me mentality and backstab him? But like, he was head boy and the new principal was like, oh, Vivian, would you like to become the new head girl? And she's like, oh yes, without a second thought. Double-crossed her bestie and then wanted to be a narc for half the season. Like, I don't get it. I really think they did her dirty because Viv has such a great character and that's shown a lot near the end. But why'd they make her the mini antagonist? Like, why make us hate her? Like, Viv did deserve that. But alas, it did happen. And it made the whole scene where we find out Viv's mysterious boyfriend who has a weird roleplay fantasy. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Like, that specific moment? Let me roll the film.
See you after school.
Okay. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Bye.
That one right there. All of her antics that whole season made that moment so much more worth it. But really, she didn't deserve it because she didn't deserve to be set up like that. Another unpopular opinion, and my biggest unpopular opinion this season, has to do with Eric. And here's a rant. Trigger warning rant. Eric is one of the most toxic characters in this show this season. Like, he is so toxic. I thought Otis was bad last season, but Eric takes the cake. Because Eric just can't make up his mind. He wants his cake and eat it too. Like, I just simply don't understand. Like, follow this logic for a second. Why would you break up a perfectly healthy relationship with someone who loves you unconditionally, is out and proud, and is willing to actually be seen out in public with you? For a boy that has bullied you, won't be out in public with you, won't really claim you, is new to the scene, and for the most part is closeted. That first part, okay, I can get that. Maybe you love him. But then why? Why would you get mad and weaponize the fact that this man is closeted and not out and not willing to be seen out in public with you the way that you want, when that is what you chose. Like, you knew exactly what you were getting into when you signed up. You literally knew exactly what you were getting into when you signed up. You knew who you left and you knew who you left him for. Why are you desperately trying to make a Raheem out of a Adam? I do not get it. And why? How do you go and cheat, right? How do you go and cheat and somehow you are the victim in the situation? Riddle me that. How do you go out and cheat and what you take away is, I learned so much. I learned that I can't be in this relationship. I learned that I need something more. I need someone to love. Like, what you need to do is make up your mind. You need to learn how to stay loyal, because in your past 2 relationships, you have not stayed loyal once. You have emotionally and physically cheated on both of your boyfriends. Maybe you just don't need a boyfriend. Maybe that's it. And it's just the way that he's just so stone cold in the breakup. Like, he feels no remorse. He doesn't show any remorse. Like, whenever he talks about it, he's like, oh yeah, we broke up. No remorse. When he's actually breaking up with Adam, no feelings. He's like over it. Which is so sick, because he knows how much Adam has been, actually I don't even know if he knows fully how much Adam was trying, because Adam really couldn't communicate that. But like, that is just so sick of him and so toxic of him, especially not to care. It's the fact that he just did not care when Adam so clearly cared so much for this boy. I will say that I am now slightly becoming more of a supporter of the Raheem and Adam train, just because they seem to be like understanding each other more. I feel like Raheem's not the type of person to do the same sort of stuff that Eric did, just because he's like slightly a better, more in tune person. So maybe in season 4, we'll start to see that. That would be fun to like see them walking down the hall and Eric just being like, but that's my rant on Eric. Those are my thoughts on Eric. Now let's talk about the parents. Let's talk about Miss Milburn. I thought it was really random this season that they just made her pregnant. I'm not sure if she was pregnant in real life, but I feel like that whole plot thread is very random. And I'm not sure how I really felt about it, because I feel like they did that to give her more relevance in this season, because when you think about it, she really didn't do anything else besides be pregnant, and being pregnant was a driving factor for a lot of her plot points. Like, her whole relationship with Jakob was because she got pregnant. And a lot of Otis's character development of him like being more self-aware and trying not to be as childish happened because his mom almost died from being pregnant. It just felt like it was like really just placed in there to like progress things along and to start some drama. But Miss Milburn this season, I feel like, was good. She was trying to figure out exactly what she wanted and was throwing herself in this relationship, thinking that she really wanted this relationship, when she slowly started to realize that her and Jakob have nothing in common. They really have nothing in common but their love for each other, which, I mean, cute, but also I don't know how sustainable that is. I think it's really interesting how they set up the end of this season of her taking that DNA test and her being like, oh shit. So it's likely that the baby is not Jakob's, and that is going to cause a whole bunch of drama, because he literally just started trusting her again after opening up about his past trauma of like being cheated on and him like losing trust in people. Like, that's going to open up a whole can of worms that I just frankly do not have the mental capacity right now to unpack. I guess since we're already talking about the ending, let's talk about the last major thing. Maeve going to America. That seemed very random too. I know they've been talking about it throughout the whole season, but her going, like, her just deciding to like pick up and go the day of, I was like, okay. I really wonder if they're gonna do like a spin-off of Maeve in America. I feel like that would be good. And like the whole spin-off thing like they did with like Elite. But I really wonder if they're just gonna like take her out for an entire season. Or if they're gonna do like a side-by-side thing, like how they did with like Eric being in Nigeria and like everyone else being in school. I know I said that the last thing was gonna be the last thing, but I really forgot I did not talk about the principal at all. Like, that whole dynamic. What was that? What was that? In what world? My UK viewers and audience, is that normal? Is that how head teachers act? Is that what they are allowed to do in their statute of limitations? Is that the power vested in them to publicly humiliate students? Like, what was that? When she had the students who, for the most part, did not do much wrong, especially Lily. Lily did not do anything wrong, and Cal definitely did not do anything wrong besides stick up for what they believe in and what is equitable and right. Is that common practice to publicly humiliate students, and is that okay? Because frankly, from my point of view, there is no degree, education, institution really, where I would be willing to sit up there and be publicly humiliated by an administrator for the sake of a learning lesson for the rest of the class. Like, I would simply just leave. Like, there is nothing that is tying me down that much where I would just sit there and be humiliated like that. Like, what do I look like sitting up there being like, I am the scum of the university and have brought shame on all of my peers? Like, no, it could not be me. I would simply leave. I would rather be expelled. I said it. I would rather be expelled. Like, what? Who does that? Like, what kind of sick and twisted individual thinks of doing that to a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds? That was the point in the show where I was like, oh wow, she is off it. She is really off it. Like, there is no going back from here. But I think that's gonna be it for this video, y'all. That was Sex Ed Season 3. Sex Ed Season 3 in my book is definitely either a 9 or 10 out of 10. Just a really solid season, my favorite season out of the series so far. And I'm excited to see what's gonna happen in Season 4. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you never miss when I post. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like and comment down below what I should talk about next and just your general thoughts about sex ed. If you want to keep up with me and see more of my face, you can follow me on my social medias here at Emergency, where I post on Instagram, TikTok. I'm everywhere, basically. Also, if you want to interact more with me in the community, you can click the link in the description and join the community Discord. We're chill around there. Come hang out. But other than that, thanks again so much for watching. Thank you Squarespace for sponsoring this video. And don't forget to head to squarespace.com/emergency or use code emergency at checkout to get 10% off of your first website or domain. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace. Hey. We have a lot to talk about. Hey guys, what's up? It's Emergency and welcome back to my channel. Hello, hi, how are you? How do we even start? Euphoria Season 2, Episode 2 was a lot. And by a lot, I just mean generally all over the place. And from the discourse in the comment section of my TikToks reacting to this episode, it seems like we have a lot to unpack and a lot to talk about, so let's just get into it, friends. And if you are new around here, you should definitely hit that subscribe button and turn on my post notifications so you never miss when I post. Leave a like on this video and follow me on my socials at Emergency because I post a lot around the internet. But Euphoria Season 2, Episode 2. This episode picks up right after the events of last episode where Nate gets beat the f up by Fez. And the episode starts off with Nate and his very, very, very small fan club of like Cassie, Maddie, I think McKay, all going to the hospital and checking Nate in. And might I add, this whole beginning scene was like a fever dream. So we're in the hospital, right? We have like Rue narrating over everything and we just see Nate's fantasies as he is like passed out and recovering from being beat up. We get to see him fantasizing about this whole life with Cassie, which is very strange because you like see him rationalizing like them getting together, getting married, having a kid, her being pregnant, and then weird scenes with his dad, which we're not going to talk about. And I feel like the most interesting part of this scene is that in this whole montage, we see a glimpse of Jules. When he's fantasizing about his like ideal reality and like the ideal people he wants to like end up with, like we see Jules, which is very, very interesting, especially when we talk about the ending of this episode. I just really don't know what to think of it because I feel like this episode really just takes the whole Nate and Cassie situation and elevates it even more. Because after Nate gets out, like him and Cassie are still chatting, like Cassie is head over heels. They're like going to hang out with each other. They're like texting all the time. They're having like breakdowns together. I'm like, ooh, Cassie, baby, Cassie. No, I don't think so. One of my friends actually made this point and I actually agree with it in that while Cassie is like a very shitty friend, and in this episode we find out that she's also a snitch, which first off, pick a struggle, Cassie. She also suffers from the plague of craving male validation without having the support systems in place to actually help her grow from that. Because anyone that she talks to about her like issues does not take her seriously and just laughs it off as a joke. Like specifically I'm talking about Maddie, because they show a scene with like Maddie and Cassie in a pool and Cassie's talking about, I'm going to be abstinent. I'm going to be like a monk and just reprioritize myself. And Maddie just goes,
I don't believe a word you're saying.
But before we get more into Cassie, let's jump over to Maddie. Because Maddie gets some real limelight this episode. I really do love all Maddie scenes just because the energy, you know? I am curious though what the relevance is of the one scene where she's babysitting, because I feel like they're building that up as foreshadowing of her like borrowing the clothes and like leaving the drawer open. Like, is that gonna come back to bite her, or is that gonna contribute to the plot in some way? Because right now it just seems kind of random. Love seeing Maddie in the outfits though. And I feel like some of the important Maddie scenes this episode were, for one, when she was calling both Nate and Cassie and neither of them picked up. Like, do y'all think she knows? Do you think that she knows? Do you think she has like some kind of intuition? She's like, why is my bestie and my ex not responding to my calls when they normally both do? Like, do you think she's like on to something? I personally think that she's not quite there yet, because I feel like that wouldn't be a lot to go off of considering that she wasn't suspicious before. But you know, Maddie could have like a third eye and like could just sense this stuff. And for the sake of the plot, I really hope that they don't like unveil the fact that Maddie knows and like have have like that conflict too early on, because if anything, the scenes in this episode where we're seeing Maddie smack down on these girls who cross her in school, we already know that Cassie is going to be in for a rude awakening. Like I said in my prediction in episode 1, it could either be that, or it could honestly be like crazy calm Maddie, where she like doesn't express a lot of emotion but is equally if not more terrifying, because Maddie has a lot of power in her hands. We're not talking about that enough. Like, Maddie has a lot of power in her hands, especially when it comes to Nate Jacobs. She could quite honestly ruin the Jacobs family career whenever she wants. So really, she's just a ticking time bomb. But I feel like the most important Maddie scene this episode was when she was with Jules. I feel like this scene is so important because both Jules and Maddie have been like severely hurt by Nate Jacobs. And they're talking and Maddie's like, I think I'm going to get back with Nate. And Jules like, don't do it, girl, don't do it. And Maddie's like, oh, I can't help it. And Jules says this one line that really, it hit me a little, it hit me a little too hard. She goes, I wish you could see yourself the way the rest of the world does. And like, it's so true. Literally so true. Like, who told you to say that? Who told you to say that? Because Maddie's a baddie. We already know this. But like most people in this world, we don't really get to see the full aspect of ourselves. Like, of course, like we can present to be confident and super like assured of ourselves, but like there's always that like internal dialogue that people don't see. And I really wish some growth on Maddie, because Nate made her do some terrible things. And like they even say on the show, I feel like they brought out the worst in each other. And Nate, honestly, we already know how I feel about Nate. Like, it's Nate Jacobs. But yeah, I feel like that was like a really important moment of this episode. Let's jump back on Cassie really quick, because we are not talking about how she's a snitch, because Nate's dad is currently on a conquest to figure out who beat up his son, and he goes to Cassie's house, and this just really makes it known, like, I get that Cassie had her ulterior motives, but like, Cassie, baby, bestie, how are you going to be a terrible friend and also a snitch? Like, how are you going to be both? Like, I know the Cassie stans are fighting for their lives right now. Like, it is a tough day to be a Cassie stan. But like, for real? Like in episode 1, we can like excuse Cassie's actions a little bit because she's drunk. This is like a one-time thing, but this episode shows intention. Like, she likes this boy. She likes this boy to the point where they like go and hook up again. And like, Nate was treating her good. Nate was treating her real good. Like, was he treating Maddie that good? Because last I remember, he couldn't. Let me stop. I'm just gonna say, you remember how Nate and Maddie's last like interactions went in the bedroom? I'm just gonna say that. And like, Cassie's trying to justify it by being like, oh, she'd never do it if like Maddie and Nate were still together. But like, she knows Maddie, like she's her best friend. She knows that Nate and Maddie are like an on again, off again couple. So like, if you've seen this before, now that they're off, how would you? You know, like, you know how this works. You know how this works. But you know, whatever. Now let's get on to Kat, because I feel like Kat finally had her time to shine this episode. Whatever she's in, I feel like she has some of the best scenes in this show, where like, she's in a perfect relationship on paper. Like, the guy loves her, treats her very well, but she is still not healed from her traumas in season 1. And honestly, I feel like she just is not like excited by him because she's used to like really toxic and honestly kind of unhealthy environments and honestly kind of unhealthy relationships. So when she gets like something that is the opposite of that and something that's genuine, it's like boring, you know? She's like bored, she's like uninterested. She's just like not fulfilled. And I feel like that translates into the rest of her life because she's just generally feeling kind of depressed and like not herself. And they have a really funny but also a really great scene because all these different like girl boss, self-help influencers all pop up and are like, you got it, girl, just like be yourself, like love yourself, and just really talks about how like toxic positivity and just like self-care and also like always being like your best self kind of rule the internet right now and are pretty much all like the messaging that people have. So like, when they're not feeling their best, they kind of like feel guilty about not feeling good because they're like, oh, I should be doing my best, I should be living my best life, whatever. And that was just a really fun scene to just see that depicted, because I feel like it was a really accurate representation of like a moment where you're like spiraling feels like, but like in real life. So kudos to that. And also shout out to Nikki Tutorials for getting that Euphoria cameo. Like, okay, creators getting into the entertainment space, I love y'all. Sorry, but yeah, shout out to her. And pivoting now onto Rue. Rue has officially found her new vice, and that is Elliot. And it's kind of seeming like I was right in my prediction that there's gonna be a love triangle, but I feel like not all characters involved know that there's a love triangle, because Rue is pretty much just using Elliot as a means to like have someone to do drugs with. But Elliot clearly has feelings for Rue, or at least it's implied and alluded to that he has feelings for Rue. And then like, Jules is like peeping all this and is currently in a relationship with Rue, but it's like keeping an eye out for Elliot, like, something's off here. Something's a little off. And then the next episode preview kind of just shows that the three of them are gonna like get into it in terms of just like meeting each other, and like Jules is gonna get suspicious suspicious because at this point, like, she doesn't know that Rue's like doing like some heavy drugs like every single day, which is problematic, but we'll talk about that in episode's 3 breakdown. And also, happy news, Ollie returns. And if you didn't remember who that is basically Rue's sponsor. And it kind of seems like they're setting something up for like Rue's mom and Ollie, and that's kind of weird. Like, they had a whole scene where Rue's mom was like, oh, he's cute. And the faces that Zendaya made after that were just really representative of what I was feeling in that moment. Like, ew, stop, just stop, please. This episode, we also get an update on Fez and Lexi, because Lexi's sister stitches, so she feels bad and she goes to see her daddy Fez. The whole interaction that they have is just so awkward and nervous, like the nervous energy living for it. Like, the way Fez is just sitting there, like, not a thought in his head except Lexi, and then just like Faye in the background. I love they're keeping her as a recurrent character because she is just so funny just existing. But then we have like a whole standoff scene where I'm like kind of nervous for Fez's safety because like Nate's dad is like there and like they're having a whole standoff moment, and then like, oh, please don't have my prediction be right. Please don't kill off Fez. But they're like hinting at it. They're really hinting at it. And I'm thinking like, is this a red flag? Like, is this a continuous red flag that like Fez has a target on his back? Like, is he going to be the one to go this season? Like, I don't know. But I feel like whatever happens, I feel like Fez is going to definitely be involved with whoever, if anyone ends up croaking this season. Also, side note, like, shout out to Ashtray because he always stays strapped. Like, he's always there. He's always lying in wait. Like, he brought his little pew pew from that cereal box. I'm like, ooh, all right. First the hammer, now the cereal box. All right, here we go, Ashtray. But now to wrap up, I kind of want to talk about the last scene in this episode. Really leaving us off on a cliffhanger here. Like, a solid, juicy ending to this episode because, like, what? Like, what? We see Nate and his dad finally get into a conversation. Like, they're finally talking to each other, having an open conversation. And Nate's dad just asks, like, why did he get beat up? Like, what was the reason for Fez to beat up Nate? And the way that Nate just says it, he just straight up, matter of fact, like the one time I actually enjoyed hearing anything come out of Nate's mouth, he basically just exposes his dad, like letting him know, like, I know that you hooked up with a high schooler. Like, I know you hooked up with Jules and I know you recorded it. And basically kind of blackmails his dad, being like, oh, this is your fault. And now you're gonna pay for it because the tapes are leaked. The tapes are out of my control. Like, Maddie has the tapes. And his dad's reaction was priceless. Like, his face, honestly gold. Like, that was all I needed. First we get to see Nate get beat up, and now we get to see Cal looking stupid as hell. Like, really just loving it so far. But honestly, based on that reaction, I'm not sure where Nate lies in this situation. Like, is he going to help his dad like recover it or like cover it up, or is he going to sabotage his own father? Because either or, it's kind of a win for him. Like, if he tries to help his dad, he knows that Maddie's probably going to pay because he knows that Maddie has the tapes and he's not really on the best terms with Maddie right now, and his dad would probably go crazy on Maddie, which would tie up a loose end for him in his sadistic brain. And then if he didn't help his dad goes down and he pretty much just gets to get off scot-free and he doesn't think about that anymore. If I remember correctly, I don't think Nate's on any of those like tapes. But either way, I am excited to see what happens next. I really want to know what your thoughts are. What did you think about this episode and how are you feeling about this season so far? Let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, those are all my thoughts for this week's episode of Euphoria, episode 2. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new to this channel, again, hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. We are so close to 100k. We're on the road to 100k. I feel like we can do it. So if you are new, definitely hit that subscribe button to join the roommates. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like because that helps out the algorithm and this channel so much. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, pretty much all my social medias here at Emergency. And other than that, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I've been Emergency and I will see you in the next video. Peace.